Hello and welcome to Redeemer Review. It's a quick look at what's happening in our church and community this week. I'm Phil Kuhn. Next to me, Billy Brinkerhuff.
Hi, Phil. How are you?
Doing great.
We have a special guest with us today. We have Bucky underneath the table. Bucky also makes an appearance, unfortunately, in my interview with Adam Esterline at the end of today's stream.
That's all right. It's a good addition to the show.
Yes, it is.
So it brings a little joy. Who doesn't like
fun.
dogs? So we got some good stuff to talk about today.
Yes.
So our talking points, of course, we're going to be talking about Sunday's theme, which is going to be a Thanksgiving service theme, learning to be content. So that's going to be very good. We're going to have you do a review of last week's sermon. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Missions Christmas Project, and you're going to talk about the Elders Christmas Count Request. And then we're going to dive into this week's sermon and this week's verse. We've got a LittleStep's update and a video for that. We've got some announcements. And then finally, we have an interview with Adam Esterline.
Adam Esterline. He's talking about the Elders Board and what's going on with the Elders Board and a little bit about the call process.
Yeah.
But first, we're going to talk about last week's sermon. It was about the Tower of Babel. And in that, Pastor Bruckner highlighted what is one of the shorter stories in Genesis. And always, when I was a kid, one of those stories that I felt, well, why is this here? It's so short and doesn't seem to have much consequence to my life. Yeah. I thought Pastor Bruckner brought it to life and showed us why it's there and what it was all about. And basically what he said is, the world had a fresh start. The flood had just happened. Noah's setting up anew and spreading out a new society of God's people, and they had a fresh start. What would you do with a fresh start? You'd follow God, right? And that's what they did, right? Apparently what they were more concerned with was making themselves a big deal. They were going to build this tower to show how good and important they are, reached up to the clouds. They were going to get all the way up to the heavens. And they were trying to, not do what God said. God said, go out and spread yourselves all over the earth. Well, they're staying here in this city and they're building a tower to reach up to the heavens. But God's got a different plan. He always does. And he said, let's go down and confuse their language. And as he did, Pastor Bruckner's examples of speaking Spanish and French just spontaneously, I thought that was a great part of the sermon. And that starts to spread people out in fulfilling God's plan. So that was a look at our sermon. And if you hadn't seen the sermon, or if you weren't here in church, it is up on our webpage. You can find it there under sermons. You go to our homepage, find the menu tab for sermons, and it's right there.
Yeah, it was a great one. So I think Pastor Bruckner's doing such a good job, and I just keep enjoying the sermons that he's putting out to us. So excited to see what this week's has to offer. But before I dive into this week's sermon and the verse, a reminder that the Missions Board, they've got a Christmas project going on right now, and so they're requesting that the church submit names of people or families in the neighborhood that are struggling because of 2020 that our church might be able to help out. So if you know of somebody who's struggling right now and you want to give them a great Christmas, reach out to the church office here, or Krista Plew, or Billy, or myself, and we'll put you in contact with who you need to be put in contact with. But again, we're looking for those as soon as possible. So if you know of a family or some friends that need some help, make sure you reach out to us. So diving into this week's sermon, though, pretty excited about this one. It's a search for contentment. So we're going to take a little bit of a break from Pastor Bob's Genesis series, and then we're going to move to a Thanksgiving theme, which is about how we can learn to be content. And boy, what a thing that's important right now for us to keep in mind is contentness, right? Because in the world we live in, we're always looking for the next thing. Who's got the better this? Who's got the better that? And our contentment lies right with Jesus Christ, which is pretty cool. And we're going to be reminded of that coming up this Sunday. And this week's verse coming up this Sunday is from Philippians 4:13, which I think a lot of us know, which is, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And what an encouraging verse right now for us.
Yeah, you can find a lot of encouragement and a lot of hope within that verse. If you look to God, he can give you the strength that you need to accomplish.
That's right.
One thing I'd like to mention right now, speaking of Thanksgiving, we have Thanksgiving coming up this week, so thank you have a happy Thanksgiving this week. We will not be having church service on Thursday. That's why this Sunday's is the Thanksgiving theme. But after Thanksgiving comes Christmas. And with that, the elders have a request for us that they would like to have everyone let the elders know if they will be here on Christmas Eve. And in your bulletin this week, you will find this survey for everyone to fill out. Will you be here on Christmas Eve service? What's your family's name and how many of your family are attending? They need this information so that they can plan out our service to keep everyone social distanced and safe and know what areas of the church we need to have prepared for our Christmas Eve service.
Yeah, it's a fair question.
Yes.
For sure.
So coming up next is our Little Steps review. This week we have a special offering for you. The Two's Room has recorded something. Mariah, their lead teacher, has recorded something. Prior to having a meal, all of our kids do say a prayer, and this week Mariah has recorded the Little Steps kids singing a prayer of thanks to God, and we thought that it was appropriate that this week, being Thanksgiving, that we show you their prayer. So here we go. This is Mariah and the Two's Room singing their prayers of thanks to God.
God our Father, we thank you for our many blessings, Amen, Amen.
Too cute.
Yeah, it's very cute. Those little kids swinging their feet inside that little feeding table. That's really nice to see.
Yeah. Diving into announcements, Billy, this Sunday is going to be awesome because it's going to be the choir's first performance.
Yes.
Their first offering to us this coming Sunday, so keep that in mind.
That'll be between the epistle reading and the gospel reading,
Okay.
so
yeah.
Look for that.
I've always loved a good choir, and so I'm excited to hear it. I think it's going to be a great addition to the service. So also, Commitment Sunday is coming up this week. So bring your commitment cards signed and sealed. And then also we're going to be doing a combined service next Sunday at 10 a.m. With Bible study to follow. And then finally, Christmas decorations. The trustees are going to be putting up the tree on the 28th. And the decorations will go up on the 29th after Bible study. So if you could stay and help us decorate for that, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah, it's always a fun time doing that. We're not putting up as many decorations this year. It'll be just the sanctuary, the narthex, and a few little other areas because the daycare is getting new flooring this year over Christmas. So we're not putting up all the decorations throughout the church because the daycare needs to get out of that area so the new flooring can go down, and because they're getting out of that area, they'll be taking up other areas in the church. So it'll be a smaller decoration this year, but still, it's a fun time to put up those decorations.
Yeah. So any help is appreciated, of course, for that. So
Yes.
Billy, we got anything else before this awesome interview with Adam Esterline?
I can't think of anything. I think we should just go right into the interview.
Let's do it. Looking forward to it. Thanks for watching.
I'm here with Adam Esterline. He is our head elder, and we're going to talk today about the elders board and what's going on with the elders. So you've been on the elders board for how long?
This is my third year.
Third year. And you are currently the head elder.
Yes, sir.
Is this your first time as head elder?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, you served as an elder, I believe, down at Purdue, correct?
Yeah. University Lutheran is a campus church that is Lutheran church, and we're 98% student body there.
Right.
So we had, I think, 2 local teachers, and the rest of us were college kids.
Wow.
So I got my first exposure to it
That's fantastic.
in the late 90s.
All right. So you've been an elder for this is your third year.
Yeah.
So this will be the end of your first term.
Correct.
All right. How do you like it so far?
It's amazing. I didn't know this, but serving in my church has been amazing. It makes me feel closer to the congregation and closer to the people. And I like to be a part of the decision making in trying to show as many people compassion and love as I can. Not very good at it, but I try.
I would disagree with that. I think you're really good at it.
Well, thank you. But it's a neat way to serve your church and serve your God. by putting others first. And I know you may not think of an elder as doing that, but that's really our passion in trying to keep people safe through the pandemic and also through trying to lead us in the best way forward we can.
Okay. What's going on with the Elders Board right now? What are some things that you're currently working on right now?
Yeah, we've got a couple things on our plate. The first of which is, of course, the pandemic and how we want to work through this as our county continues to grow a little more orange, so to speak, if you've looked at those maps.
Yeah.
And we don't know what we're going to do yet. So any prayer in that regard for the elders and their decision making would be appreciated. Yeah. So we're definitely talking about the pandemic. We're talking about Advent. Pastor Work is going to be leading us in Advent services with a message of hope, which I think is a great topic.
And I think Pastor Work's a good compliment for Pastor Bruckner not being able to be here for the Advent services. I think Pastor Work's a great
Absolutely.
Fill-in.
There's a great respect between those two gentlemen, along with Pastor Drellbaugh too. They're a well-oiled machine working together.
Nice. Very good.
So we have Advent, the pandemic, and just trying to decide how we want to deal with procedures going forward, whether it's communion or social distancing or masks. But there are no great answers. We're just trying to do the best for the most amount of people.
Is there any biblical lessons that you as an elder board draw on when you're making these big church changing decisions?
We've been asked to love one another. And in our imperfectness, we still strive to welcome and spread joy and safety. That's really not a great answer to your question, but we're very scriptural, and everything we do is based upon what Jesus would want us to do.
In the future, the Elders Board is also formed as our call committee. So we know that any new pastor, you're going to go through those lists of potential pastors. And any new pastor coming to our church is first going to come through your board to the rest of the congregation. In that process, what do you see going forward? What do you see our church becoming? What do you see a pastor here working as?
It's a great question. The surveys that we had the congregation fill out a couple weeks ago, as well as the elders, Lenny McCurry is putting all those together for us, but he's sharing with us as he's doing that he's overwhelmed by how many of the ideas are congruent to the other people.
Nice.
And with our elders. He was expecting lots of outliers and trying to find the best fit line, so to speak, of all the possibilities. But he's been overwhelmed at how we all want somebody who is confident in the gospel, who is available at all times if needed, Jesus backed all the time, and good with youth. And those are just a couple of the characteristics we're finding that are congruent between all the people who have filled out those surveys. And it's been really rewarding for us because we were so afraid of having to find the best fit from everyone's views. But we don't have a whole lot of outliers. We've got a couple we need to think through. But as we get that list of characteristics we're interested together, that will then go to the president of our district, and he then will take some time and give us a list of possibilities for us to sift through. But during Advent, things kind of slow down because pastors are so busy where they're at.
Right.
So we know the time frame is not going to be what we would like. It may be a little longer. It may even be into Advent into Lent or even after Lent.
Sure. And we're going to have another conversation later on with Bill Alberding and Adam about the call process. We're going to talk about what the call committee is doing, dive a little deeper into what's going on with that. But along that line, where do you see our church in 5-6 years? What do you hope it looks like? Any areas you think you would like to see us grow?
Well, one of the things that came up on the surveys was outreach. And I kind of tied that to the missions board. Mm-hmm. So somewhere in our future, we're going to have, I believe, a strong pursuit of outreach. And some of that will be within our own congregation already, whether it be children or folks who are at home and can't make it to church, right, or maybe be across the world. Who knows? But I think outreach is going to be a big deal. I think strong confirmation is going to be a big deal. Selfishly, I think how we treat people when they come through our doors the first time,
Right.
and then the second time is going to be a big deal for us. Yeah. And quite frankly, I think we've grown with that, and we're a very welcoming church now, at least I hope.
Yeah, that was something that Krista pointed out in our last interview. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to the next discussion with Bill, and thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us. If you have any questions about Redeemer, have a topic or interview suggestion, or need to know anything about the church, you can contact the church office at churchoffice@redeemerwarsaw.org, phil.prevail@gmail.com, or Billy at rlc_it@redeemerwarsaw.org. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and please join us again next week. And until then, may the Lord be with your spirit, and grace be with you.